Heavy is the crown that we wear, but light are the burdens that we hold if shared. I am AQBS and this is Back to the Barber. I call the Hamilton Norwood hair loss pattern a reversal or opposite of the human growth pattern that you see in newborns. As I have stated several times before, there is no visual difference between the hair growth pattern of newborns and the hair loss pattern of Hamilton Norwood. One is just growing forward and the other is reversing backwards. Truthfully, the hair that regrows in natural hair loss supplant is like those of babies as well too. Fine, straighter, spaced out, wispy. It's amazing to see the new hair growth, but no one could have told me that my scalp will regrow like a baby's. But why is that? I am glad that you asked. The follicles reverse the Hamilton Norwood pattern of loss, plus by which that you personally lost hair in the order that you did. For example, if you lost in the crown first, then receded in the front, then the hair in the front will come back in first. The first to go is the last to show. Ironic, isn't it? And the hairs that do come in or go anagen first are spaced out. The reason for that is follicles, like the cycles of women in close proximity, sink over time, but it's after they mature enough to have a cycle. New follicles haven't as of yet. Therefore, most will not sprout at the same exact time, even in close proximity. Yet, once they go terminal, then the hairs grow as normal. You would have to cut them, shape them as you did before. It seems that once it's turned on, whatever was turned off, unless conditions go back crazy again, the follicles behave normally. That's good news for you. Even now, I have hairs that are an inch long or more coming out of the follicle that for over a decade wouldn't even grow villus. The two toughest spots to regrow hair are the same areas by which most hair transplants target: the frontal band, which is really the gallia ring or wall but in the front. We call this the hairline. And the crown, which is where many of us have the hair growth whirl, or what seems to be the epicenter of growth. Going through this process, I have found that I am growing more hair on the crown than at the front currently, which I wouldn't have never guessed. The frontal hair growth brings the aesthetic that we all are looking for, but fibrosis has another plan. However, the crown is also a very problematic area, so regrowing hair there is also very exciting. In this video, I'm going to tell you from my unique perspective why the crown thins first and the steps I have taken to regrow hair over a decade later using only natural products without synthetics and lab-based solutions respectfully. Now, if you are natty or even lab-based in hair loss or even a combination of both, you can still benefit from this video. You will find that heavy is the crown that you, king, wears in hair loss, but for very good reasons outlined. The hair grows upwards, not top down, but regrows against gravity. The hairs in the vicinity of the gallia ring that circle around the top sides of the head begin to transition to anagen first. When you look at my hair from the top down, you will see that the hairs around the sides mature while the hairs on the top are still transitioning from anagen to villus, with a few going terminal. Now I'm at the state where I am almost at the regrowth threshold, which is having reset my scalp closer to pre-balding conditions. My theory is that once the scalp is no longer a plaque dome or quarantine, with the gallia ring being a tourniquet, nor DHT or inflammation out of order, to simplify, an omega scalp from an alpha scalp, then the bulk of my hairs will begin sprouting as normal. I believe that the mass population of hairs will darken and sprout out, giving me the aesthetic of an S&P tattoo with skinny thin hairs that over time become thicker and normalize. That's at least my projection. The operative and most important fact here is that hairs are growing against gravity and upwards. What is that about? If the hair world or epicenter is dead center at the top of my head, then using topicals, DHT blockers, and derma rollers, I think that the center will begin to regrow as it was first to grow in the human growth pattern, right? See, that's actually wrong. See, hairs don't grow from the top and kind of whirl around until it fills the crown and then the sides. Quite the opposite. The terminal hairs seem to grow where the best circulation and blood flow is first, and then the more problematic, less circulation areas next. This is the same for newborns and mature men who are going through the hair supplant process of natural hair loss restoration. I wouldn't have guessed it because it went against everything that I knew about hair growth, which wasn't much, but now it makes more sense. See, there are factors that cause the scalp sections to be less ideal for hair growth. As I've stated, it's not about addition, but subtraction. So what are you going to subtract from your scalp that is suffering with hair loss should be the question, not what you are adding. This mindset shift sets you apart from others despite the therapeutics used, because it removes the distortions and false belief systems in men's hair loss. The crown has several factors that make it one of the first areas to lose hair and the hardest to regrow. So hard that we believe once it's shiny bald, it's gone forever, but luckily that is not true. Androgenic alopecia is not scarring alopecia, and it's conditional permanency. What is conditional permanency? It's a new term I've coined in male pattern balding, but simply put, the conditions create the illusion that it's permanent. Change them and change its permanency. See my video on the illusion of hair loss.
What gives with this crown? Why is it so heavy in hair loss?
Here's why, my king. The environmental changes in the scalp magnify the already sensitive anatomy at the top of the scalp. Remember, hair even in newborns appear on the sides first and are wispy, if best on the galea, and really thin at the very top, aka the crown. If the recession of hair or the thinning of hair is the visual representation of the decline in the environment, then the crown will be the area that has all of the negative factors associated with hair loss multiplied. Even today, it's really telling that there's a small circle about the size of a nickel, dead smack crown, that is turning terminal much slower than the other areas of my scalp, despite my persistent targeting and deep knowledge. Here are the factors that I have found causing the crown to thin first, and what I do to mitigate or reverse them. Number 1, dermal fat, or the hypodermis subcutaneous fat dissolved by androgens and DHT. DHT, like steroids, rips the scalp or shreds the nutritious fat layers that the follicles extract resources from. That tight, polished look of totally bald men comes from the dermal layers being compressed together due to fibrosis that's cooking through inflammation and calcification, adhesive glue together of those layers. How do you reverse it? Eliminate all localized DHT if possible. You would have to knead out the fibrosis and recondition the skin layers, all the while breaking up the calcium, what I call kidney dust, within the layers. Weekly derma rolling with a 1.5 plus something to target fibrosis or calcium such as K2, urea, magnesium, and taurine. I try both topically and internally. If you can, the more concentrated, the better. And number 2, plaque. The inflammation in the scalp draws in cholesterol, which is a cesspool of DHT, and turns the environment into a hard calcium dome. The side effect of the immune system attempting to quarantine a really bad problem, in its opinion, is the reason that many of us are visually bald or losing hair. The inflammation fix, DHT, is a huge factor in hair loss, only worsening overall circulation issues. Make no mistake, circulation issues are a side effect. Yes, side effect of hair loss. It is not the cause. Therefore, minoxidil helps with the side effect of balding, not its cause. For many people, it stops working as conditions worsen. Now you know why, my lord. Number 3, gravity and natural tension. Take your fingertips and place them on the sides of your head, right behind the temples, and push up. Usually when you have a headache, it's at the temples, but in this case it's right above the ears. If you push up hard enough and really press, you will see that the head skin sits on top of the skull. The hidden factor in hair loss is none other than gravity itself, pulling down on the scalp, leaving the follicles in an environment with not only fibrotic calcified skin, but a more flattened layer without the cushion to absorb gravity's pull. On another note, the crown is one of 2 areas when looking at scalp diagrams online where scalp tension is mostly concentrated. The other area, the frontal. Tension in the form of gravity, the pull down pressure, is one of the main reasons why the crown thins first. So how do you combat gravity of all things? Well, you can't cancel gravity, but you can help the body deal with the natural tension due to anatomy, if nothing else. I also want to add something else to this gravity phenomenon. See, the arteries deliver resources upwards towards the crown. Therefore, our blood supply is working against gravity, which means any type of circulation bottleneck would hit the top of the scalp first. The gallia ring that gets thickened with plaque and begins to squeeze the already weak gallia sheath at the top eventually compresses the very arteries delivering to the crown. This leads to the crown thinning first as the starving follicles go comatose telogen and plaque settles into the environment. Look at your crown right now. Is it smooth without pores, shiny, and perhaps thicker? This is why. That condition will roll down from the crown and roll back from the hairline and cover the entire kingdom. There will be mutiny. Knowing this, your crown work would have to entail compensating for the lack of circulation in topical form. But if you really want to reverse its thinning, target the tourniquet. That is the true usurper of the royal seat. It's forcing the abdication of hairs. The gallia ring is attempting to oust you. Don't be fooled. You may not be able to cancel gravity or the pull down effect, but you can add nutrients to the scalp via vitamins topically or internally. You can knead out its plaque. You can use the balayantра tool or roll upwards toward the crown. You can use a red light massager or even hands and anything to release tension from the frontal and back occiput muscles to lessen gravity's pull down. Is this why the helmets work? How about the scalp squeezing bands? You betcha. I am not saying a particular product or brand works. I am saying I can see scientifically why it would. In conclusion, the comatose hairs on the crown will sprout once again, just as my hairs are now, but you may expect them to come in last if you are totally bald, or slower than you like if not. Ponder on these 3 factors and find ways to reverse or mitigate the decline due to scalp deterioration. Lastly, if you are truly serious about seeing the hairline you once had as a prince, take heed to my royal declaration. The enemy of the crown is tension and gravity. The gallia wall tourniquet, the calcified arteries, the DHT cholesterol plaque, and the dissolved, flattened, glued together dermal layers. Oust them from the kingdom and experience a time of regrowth, prosperity. Heavy is the crown that we wear, but light are the burdens that we hold if shared. Like, subscribe, and comment, as iron sharpens iron and we only have each other. And remember, if I can do it, you all can do it too. Let's get you back to the barber.